Apple has confirmed its AI strategy is a complete and utter dumpster fire. Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. One of the sub-stories we've been following for some time is just what the heck is going on with Apple when it comes to AI. This is a company that you really would think would be excellently positioned to understand exactly how to bring some version of AI to consumers in a way that actually met their needs, didn't require them to buy into a bunch of AI hype, and yet they have just done absolutely nothing. Underwhelming concept after underwhelming concept, followed by delay after delay. And now its Siri crisis seems to be deepening as a leaked all-hands meeting speaks to disarray in the AI division. Now, of course, at this point, the troubles behind the AI versions of Siri have been well reported, including on this show, but comments from the company have been relatively slim. Last week, Apple confirmed for the first time that Siri was facing major delays, and seemed to tacitly acknowledge that they've been advertising features that don't exist. Remember, they pulled ads from YouTube. Bloomberg's Apple insider Mark Gurman reports that Apple senior director Robbie Walker recently addressed the team. Gurman wrote, Walker suggested that employees on his team may be feeling angry, disappointed, burnt out, and embarrassed after the features were postponed. The company had been racing to get the technology ready for this spring, but now the features aren't expected until next year at the earliest. You'll remember that AI Siri was first shown off at the Worldwide Developer Conference last June. Bloomberg has reported that at the time, there was barely a working prototype, and the unveiling relied entirely on a video mock-up. Walker said that the delays were especially ugly and embarrassing due to the advertising push, stating, "This was not one of those situations where we get to show people our plan after it's done. We showed people before." He acknowledged that the marketing department had, quote, made matters worse by wanting to promote the enhancements even though they weren't ready. And touching on the true state of the delays, Walker even raised doubt about having AI Siri ready to ship in next year's iOS 19. He said that even though the feature is earmarked for release in the new version of the operating system, it, quote, doesn't mean we're shipping then. Confirming what we already knew, Walker stated that the delays are due to quality issues with Siri's new features, quote, that resulted in them not working properly up to a third of the time. Citing new hardware and software initiatives the AI team is working on simultaneously, Walter commented that, we have other commitments across Apple to other projects. We want to keep our commitments to those, and we understand those are now potentially more timeline urgent than the features that have been deferred. He said the decisions will be made on a case-by-case basis, implying that AI Siri is not the number one priority. Finally, touching on responsibility for the botched rollout, Walker insisted that there was, quote, intense personal accountability, shared by his boss, John Giannandrea, the head of AI at Apple, as well as software chief Craig Federighi, and other executives. Gurman wrote, as of Friday, Apple doesn't plan to immediately fire any top executives over the AI crisis, according to people with knowledge of the matter. That decision could theoretically change at any time. In any case, the company is poised to make management adjustments. It has discussed moving more senior executives under Giannandrea to assist with the turnaround effort. In a sign of just how far Apple has fallen, the leading Apple blog for the last 20 years at this point, Daring Fireball, published on Wednesday a piece called Something is Rotten in the State of Cupertino. He said, in the 2 decades I've been on this racket, I've never been angrier at myself for missing a story than I am about Apple's announcement on Friday that the more personalized Siri features of Apple Intelligence scheduled to appear between now and WWDC would be delayed until the coming year. I should have had my head examined. Now, John Gruber, the author of this, is raising red flags that something has gone deeply wrong at the company. He referenced a famous meeting from 2008 when Steve Jobs berated engineers on why an early iPhone email client doesn't work properly. Direct quotes from Jobs included, "You've tarnished Apple's reputation," and "You should hate each other for having let each other down." Gruber wrote, "Tim Cook should have already held a meeting like that to address and rectify the Siri and Apple Intelligence debacle. If such a meeting hasn't yet occurred or doesn't happen soon, then I fear that's all she wrote. The ride is over. When mediocrity, excuses, and BS take root, they take over. A culture of excellence, accountability, and integrity cannot abide the acceptance of any of those things, and will quickly collapse upon itself with the acceptance of all three." Tim A.S. writes, "I've been reading Gruber's blog for over a decade and always saw him defend every obvious Apple flaw, a true unapologetic fanboy. Seeing this is a complete shock. If even this doesn't prompt drastic leadership changes, I don't know what will." Meanwhile, in another big tech house, Google is taking the plunge and replacing the Google Assistant with AI. On Friday, Google announced that over the coming months, mobile users will be switched over to Gemini Assistant and the classic Assistant will no longer be accessible. They added, "Additionally, we'll be upgrading tablets, cars, and devices that connect to your phone, such as headphones and watches, to Gemini. We're also bringing a new experience powered by Gemini to home devices like speakers, displays, and TVs." Google notes they're, quote, continuing to focus on improving the quality of the day-to-day Gemini experience, especially for those who have come to rely on Google Assistant. Now, in some ways, this was inevitable, but it's still noteworthy relative to the other companies in the space. Neither Amazon or Apple have even shipped an AI-driven version of their assistant, let alone have the confidence to remove a legacy product from customers. David Barnard writes, as a recovering Apple apologist, I get the Apple has high standards and won't ship LLM Siri until it's ready argument, but I gotta call BS on that. Siri is a terrible product that we've all been complaining about for over a decade. The bar is low. Google is making the right choice here, pushing to the future even though Gemini isn't perfect. It will get better quickly with hundreds of millions of people using it daily. And for a bunch of things, it's already quite good. Would be funny to see Google lean into how far ahead they are with I'm a Mac style ads making fun of how dumb Siri is compared to Gemini. So there you have it. It's a mess in Cupertino, maybe a little bit better in Mountain View, and all of us are just watching it play out. For now, that's going to do it for the AI Daily Brief Headlines edition. Next up, the main episode.